How are we doing, everyone? Mr. Howie here. And today we're going to talk about a character's name, specifically Usagi Tsukino from Sailor Moon. And we're going to see what it kind of tells us about her character, or things we might be able to guess about her character from her name. Let's start out with her first name of Usagi. Now, in Japanese, Usagi means rabbit. From this, you could think, maybe she's a timid type of character, maybe a little bit shy and flighty, like a rabbit. But if you think about it in terms of Asian mythology, rabbits have a strong association with the moon. What exactly is this association with the moon? Well, I'm happy to tell you. Well, if we take a look at it from Chinese mythology, rabbit is often seen as the partner or like familiar of the moon goddess in Chinese mythology. And on the other hand, in places like Japan and Korea, and I believe this is also true in China, you know how in the West we see the man in the moon? Well, in the East, they see a rabbit on the moon, and oftentimes that rabbit is pounding a like mortar of mochi, kind of shown here in this image of what they kind of see as the rabbit in the moon. But to add a little bit more to what is in that mortar, specifically in Chinese mythology, it differs a little bit because instead of a type of rice cake or mochi like in Korea and Japan, it is the elixir of life that the rabbit is pounding for the goddess of the moon. So from this information about how rabbits are associated with the moon and Usagi's name, you could potentially make guesses that, maybe she has some kind of connection to the moon. But there's not quite enough definitive information yet, unless you include the name of the series of Sailor Moon and be like, the fact that the show's name is Sailor Moon, and her name means rabbit, and rabbits have an association with the moon, there could be a connection, but it's not quite definitive yet. However, if you include her last name of Tsukino, it becomes far more definitive that she is going to have some strong connection to the moon. To start, let's take a look at how her last name of Tsukino is written, which is like this. Now, the first part of her last name, Tsuki, literally means moon. Now, that already gives us an even stronger stance that she probably has a strong association with the moon, because they're literally putting it in our face. But let's move on to the second half of her name before we come to a complete conclusion, which is no. Now, no in this form means field, so her last name means like Moonfield. Now, that could give us an even stronger stance that her association with the moon is rather large, since fields tend to be rather large things, which is a bit of a leap, to be honest, but we'll just go with it for the time being. But this is where it gets really interesting, because Japanese people like to have, like, hidden puns within names as well. Now, if you were to write out her name completely, Tsukino Usagi, without the use of kanji, it turns into a sentence meaning rabbit of the moon. Now, the fact that her name written like this literally means rabbit of the moon, we can then have an even stronger sense that she definitely is associated with the moon, or at least that she is the main character of the series, since the series is called Sailor Moon, and her name literally means rabbit of the moon. So, this probably tells us that she, at minimum, is the main character, if nothing else. And once you dive into the show itself, you find out things like Usagi is from the moon originally, which then solidifies how her name connects to her status as a person, in the fact that she literally comes from the moon and was a princess from there. Right after she obtains her powers within the first episode of the show, becoming Sailor Moon, you go, her name was literally telling me she was going to be the main character named Sailor Moon, which is pretty cool if you ask me. This is why I love looking at characters' names, because there are certain aspects of them, sometimes, not always, that give us insight into the character and potential roles they might be playing within the series. And sometimes it might not be a direct reference to the character themselves, but to their power set. And the fact that Sailor Moon's attacks all have moon in the name for the most part, You can also think of how her name was a reference to the types of abilities she would be displaying within the show as well. And with that, we come to the end of our little look into Usagi's name. So, if you liked this video, please hit that like button. If you have something to share, please comment down below and subscribe for more videos like these. With that, Mr. Howery, out.